Men, the most powerful dynamic on a first date isn't who pays the bill or who suggests the next meeting, it's who starts chasing first. The woman sitting across from you isn't just passively enjoying dinner and conversation. She's strategically deploying psychological tactics designed to make you pursue her before she reveals any investment, ensuring she maintains power while you take all the emotional risk. Before we dive in, hit subscribe, smash that like and hype button, and drop a comment if you've ever recognized these tactics mid-date and either fell for them or successfully navigated around them. Your experience might help another man understand. The chess game happening beneath casual conversation. Tactic 1. Strategic unavailability, creating scarcity through vague scheduling. When you suggest meeting again and she responds with, "I'd love to, but my schedule is crazy right now," or "Let me check my calendar and get back to you," she's not genuinely struggling with scheduling conflicts. She's deploying strategic unavailability that makes her time seem scarce and valuable, forcing you to work harder for access while she observes how much effort you'll invest. What this reveals? This reveals she's creating artificial scarcity to increase her perceived value. By making herself seem busy and in demand, she's positioning you as someone competing for limited access to her time. Notice she doesn't offer specific alternative dates. If she says her schedule is crazy but doesn't propose, "How about Thursday instead?" she's testing whether you'll chase harder when faced with uncertainty. The vagueness is intentional. Saying, "Let me get back to you" without timeline creates ambiguity where you're left waiting for her response, thinking about her, wondering if you'll see her again. During this waiting period, she's occupying mental space while investing nothing herself. She's making you chase by withholding the confirmation you want. How to respond? Don't chase the vagueness. Say, "No problem." When you figure out your schedule, reach out with some dates that work for you. "I'm interested, but I'm not going to play scheduling games." Then genuinely move on mentally. If she's truly interested and just testing, she'll provide specific availability. If she's stringing you along, you've saved yourself from becoming her validation source. Alternatively, suggest one specific alternative. "How about next Saturday at 7? If she's vague again without proposing her own specific time, recognize she's not actually trying to meet. She's trying to keep you chasing while maintaining all the power. Tactic 2. The strategic pause, creating anxiety through delayed responses. When you text her after the date or during conversation, there are strategic pauses in her responses. She takes hours to reply to messages that clearly don't require hours to answer, or she waits noticeably long before responding to your questions during the date itself. She's not distracted or busy. She's deliberately creating response delays that generate anxiety and make you work harder for her attention. What this reveals? This reveals she's using time as a power tool. By controlling response timing, she's making you experience anticipation and mild anxiety about whether she's interested, which intensifies your focus on her. Women know that immediate responses suggest high interest, so by delaying, she's signaling ambivalence that makes you want to win her over more strongly. Notice if her delays are inconsistent with her obvious phone usage. If she's clearly checking her phone during the date, but takes 30 minutes to respond to your bathroom break text, or if you see she's posting on social media but hasn't replied to your message, the delay is strategic rather than circumstantial. She's available but choosing not to respond immediately to increase your investment. How to respond? Match her energy without playing games. If she takes 3 hours to respond, don't respond immediately when she finally does. Take your natural time. Don't calculate matching her delay exactly. That's game playing. But also don't reward delayed responses with immediate eager replies that show you were waiting by your phone. More importantly, don't let delayed responses increase your chase. If she's consistently taking hours or days to reply to simple messages, recognize she's either not interested enough or she's playing power games. Either way, the solution is reducing your investment rather than increasing your pursuit. Tactic 3. Strategic mention of other men. manufacturing competition anxiety. When she casually mentions other men during the date, "My friend Mike is always telling me," or "This guy at work keeps asking me out," or stories that reference other male attention, she's not making innocent conversation. She's strategically introducing other men into discussion to trigger competition anxiety that makes you chase harder to win her attention over these implied rivals. What this reveals? This reveals she's creating perceived competition to increase her value and your pursuit. By mentioning other men, she's signaling that you're not her only option, which psychologically triggers men to pursue more aggressively to stand out from competition. Notice the mentions feel unnecessary to the actual story. If she could tell the anecdote without mentioning "this guy from my gym," but includes it anyway, it's strategic. Watch whether these mentions focus on male attention specifically. If she mentions "my friend Sarah" naturally, but every male reference includes subtle indicators of his interest in her or their closeness, she's specifically highlighting male competition. She wants you to know other men want her, so you'll work harder to differentiate yourself and secure her interest. How to respond? Don't take the bait of competing. When she mentions other men, respond neutrally, without showing jealousy or increased pursuit. "That's nice," or "sounds like you have good friends." Refusing to react with competition anxiety shows you're confident and not desperate for her. Validation. If mentions become frequent or obvious, address it directly. "I notice you mention other guys a lot. Are you trying to see if I'll get jealous or compete for your attention? Because I'm interested in getting to know you, but I'm not interested in competing with a lineup of other men." This calls out the tactic while maintaining confidence. Tactic 4. The qualification reversal. Making you prove your value instead of revealing hers. When the conversation becomes her asking you qualifying questions about your job, your ambitions, your lifestyle, your past relationships, while she reveals minimal information about herself, she's not just curious or shy. She's reversing the normal dating dynamic where both people reveal themselves equally, instead positioning you as someone auditioning for her approval while she remains the evaluator. What this reveals? This reveals she's positioning herself as the prize to be won, rather than someone also trying to impress you. By asking questions without answering similar ones about herself, she's creating an interview dynamic where you're proving your worth while her worth is assumed. Notice if you're doing most of the talking while learning little about her. That's intentional positioning. She's also gathering information about you without providing reciprocal vulnerability. This gives her power because she knows your weak points, your values, your situation, while remaining somewhat mysterious. The information imbalance means she can strategically respond to what you want, while you have little information to assess compatibility. How to respond? Rebalance the conversation by redirecting questions back. "That's an interesting question. What about you? What are your career ambitions?" If she deflects without answering, try once more. If she continues avoiding sharing about herself, recognize she's not interested in mutual connection, just in evaluating you from a position of power. Don't overshare or keep answering questions, hoping she'll eventually reciprocate. If the conversation feels like an interrogation rather than mutual exchange, address it. "I notice I'm answering a lot of questions, but learning little about you. I'm interested in getting to know you too, not just being interviewed." Tactic 5. The mixed signal protocol. Alternating hot and cold to keep you guessing. When her engagement fluctuates during the date, she's warm and engaged for 20 minutes, then suddenly cool and distracted, then warm again. She's not having mood swings or reacting to the conversation. She's deliberately alternating between showing interest and withdrawing it, creating confusion that makes you work harder during the cold moments to regain the warmth she showed earlier. What this reveals? This reveals she's using intermittent reinforcement, the most powerful psychological tool for creating pursuit. By alternating between warm engagement and cool distance, she's creating a variable reward system where you're constantly trying to figure out how to maintain her interest and get back to the warm moments. The unpredictability makes you more focused on winning her consistent approval. Notice if the cold moment seems strategically timed, right after you've relaxed into thinking the date is going well, or right after you've revealed something vulnerable. The timing suggests she's deliberately pulling back when you're getting comfortable to keep you working for her engagement rather than relaxing into mutual connection. How to respond? Don't chase the warmth when she goes cold. Maintain your own consistent energy regardless of her fluctuations. If she becomes distracted or cool, don't immediately try harder to re-engage her. That's rewarding the withdrawal with increased effort. Instead, match her lower energy naturally without butthurt or obvious reaction. If the hot-cold pattern becomes obvious, consider whether you want to continue. Someone genuinely interested maintains relatively consistent engagement rather than strategically manipulating your emotional state through withdrawal and re-engagement cycles. Tactic 6. The comparison frame. Subtle references to her high standards and past disappointments. When she makes comments about her high standards, "I'm really picky about who I date," or "most guys don't meet my expectations," or stories about past dates who disappointed her, she's not warning you about compatibility issues. She's establishing a frame where you need to prove you're different from the men who failed to meet her standards, positioning yourself as someone working to clear her high bar. What this reveals? This reveals she's pre-positioning you as someone who needs to prove worthiness rather than someone she's trying to impress equally. By establishing she has high standards and past disappointments, she's creating a dynamic where you're trying to be the exception who finally meets her expectations, which means you're chasing her approval rather than evaluating whether she meets yours. Notice if these references come when you're not actively qualifying yourself. If you're just having normal conversation and she mentions her pickiness or past disappointments, she's introducing the frame unprompted to shape the dynamic. She wants you thinking about measuring up rather than whether she measures up to your standards.